Hey guys, Shane here with Etrailer.com. Today I have a 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I'm going to be installing Roadmaster's Smart Diode Wiring Kit. Your diode wiring kit is going to be one of 5 main components for flat towing your Jeep Grand Cherokee behind your motorhome. The other 4 are going to be your base plate, your tow bar, your safety cables, and your braking system. What the diode kit is designed to do is allow you to transfer light signals from your motorhome to the back of your vehicle while utilizing your factory tail lights. They're going to mount behind your taillights, and they're going to protect your factory wiring from any backfeed from the motorhome and vice versa. It's going to protect your motorhome wiring from backfeed from the vehicle if there's a wiring issue. Let's talk about the difference between a smart diode and a regular diode. With the smart diodes, they're designed for incandescent bulbs with variable voltage circuits. What variable voltage is it's one wire that goes to a bulb and allows that bulb to do multiple functions. So, as an example, let's say we turn on our running lights. Our running lights are going to be a certain brightness. Using that same wire, when we apply our brake light needs to be brighter than our running light so that people behind us can tell that we're putting on our brakes. If we were to put a regular diode on a variable voltage circuit, what happens is we're sending 12 volts of power through that wire, that one wire that's doing the multiple functions. If we turn on our running lights are going to be bright. If we hit our brakes are also getting that same 12 volts of power, and it's going to be the same brightness. So you might see a flicker, but that's it. Everybody behind us is not going to be able to know exactly what we're doing. That's where the smart diode comes in. Smart diode is going to have a resistor in it, so it's only sending the amount of power needed for the function that it's doing. Another difference between the regular diodes and the smart diodes. Regular diodes, you're going to have 2 diodes that you have to attach to your factory wiring behind each taillight. With the smart diode, you're only going to have 1. With the Grand Cherokee, there's minimal space back behind the taillight. I've installed the regular diodes, and they're very hard to get your taillight back in place and get them to fit in there with both of those. With just having the one diode, the smart diode, installed on here, it makes it much easier to get that taillight back in place when you're finished with it. Let's talk about a couple other options that are available. You have magnetic lights. Magnetic lights are easy to set up. They're going to mount somewhere on the vehicle. Keep in mind you're going to have wires that are going to run outside the vehicle. They're going to run over top of your vehicle, which could potentially scratch your paint. And when you're not using them, you have to take them off and find somewhere to store them. Bulb and socket is going to work similar, except you have to drill a hole in the back of the taillight. Keep in mind, if you drill that hole, you have to make it exactly right. Otherwise, the bulb is not going to stay in there. It's not going to seal. You can get moisture in there, and you might have to replace your whole taillight. With the diode, once you get it installed, it's ready to go all the time. All you have to do is plug your umbilical cord in from your motorhome to the front of your vehicle, and the functions are going to work. Also, with those, it's not going to affect the normal use of the vehicle when you're driving it on a normal basis. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's walk you through how to get it installed. To start your installation, it's a good idea to start it while you have the fascia off when you put your base plate in. We're going to start here at the front, and it doesn't matter which side you go to, whether it's driver's side or passenger side. I tend to always go to the driver's side. You're going to take your 2 pegs that are coming off of your base plate, leave a little bit of extra hanging out, and we need to route our wire to the back of the vehicle. We want to make sure when routing it, we're staying away from anything hot or moving. What I did, zip tied it to one of the pins. I ran it straight across, right around to the inside of my frame rail. I went over top of this factory wiring and then straight back down past my mount here. And then what I did is there's a hole right here on the bottom of the frame rail. You can use an Airline tube, wire hanger. What I did is I fed it through that hole, through the frame rail, all the way down to here. There's another hole here where I came out. The braking system that we're going to be installing on this vehicle doesn't require us to tap into this wire. If you're doing a stay and play deal or any other braking system that does require you to tap into the 4-pole wire that you're running, you want to make sure that you're leaving enough in a spot that you can get to it. There's a plug right here that comes out of the bottom of the floorboard in the driver's side that you can bring out the wires and tie into it. Just leave you a little loop here. If you're not comfortable doing it here, run it up through the engine compartment and back down. From here, I went over top of this brace, right underneath this panel. Fuel tank brackets, I went around these. You have this cross member, I went over the top of all of it to right here. Now with this vehicle, we have dual exhaust. We have exhaust on both sides. We want to stay away from it. So what I did is this factory wiring runs up behind this heat shield. I push it up above it. And right up here is the exhaust hanger. I went behind it so that my wire doesn't fall back down on the top of my exhaust or my muffler. And then we're going to take our wires and we're going to split them apart up to the spot where we're coming out. We're going to take our brown, yellow, and white wire. We're going to go up and remove our tail light. We're going to take these 3 wires, feed them up behind the fascia, in behind where our tail light sits. To remove our tail lights, we're going to have 2 pushpin fasteners here on the inside. Take a small screwdriver, pick like this. We're going to pry out the center. And then we're going to pull them out. And what I like to use, this light, we're going to pull it straight back. You can pick up a set of trim panel tools here at Etrailer.com. These are going to be by Performance Tools. We're going to take it, we're going to get it right in between the light and the body. And just kind of use it to pry backwards. Just like that. And what we need to do is, there's a couple ways to do this. I don't like to just let the light hang. If you want to put a rag in there, you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and take these connectors off the lights. That way I'm just working with the wires. So how you do that is these red tabs, we need to pull them up. Like that. And disconnect your wire. And then we'll set our tail light aside somewhere safe. To get our 3 wires up here, we can use the same method we did to run our wires through the frame rail. Again, I'm using an Airline tube. We're going to feed it straight down until it comes out the bottom. And we're going to take our white, yellow, and brown wire, and I'm going to tape it to my pull wire and use my pull wire to pull my other wires back up. Now I'm going to take these wires with a zip tie, pull them up tight. I'm going to zip tie them to this factory wiring. This is going to keep them from drooping back down and sitting on my exhaust and potentially causing damage to them. So we're going to start with our factory vehicle wire. What we're going to do is we're going to cut that. Strip back both ends. We're going to take a diode or a female spade connector off our diode. We're going to put one on each wire and crimp it down. Car brake out goes towards the plug. Car brake in comes from the vehicle. Next, we'll take our brown wire and leave a little bit of extra here. We're going to cut it. We're going to hold both ends. Strip back both sides. Twist them together. Put on a spade connector. Crimp it down. And let's go to RV taillights. Our extra wire, we're going to end up feeding back down because it's going to run over the passenger side. The yellow wire, going to go in right there. We're going to take our ground, we're going to cut this a little bit shorter. Add on one of those small ring terminals, comes in your kit. You're going to get a small wire. It's going to look like this. Actually, you're going to get two of them, one for each side. Strip back both ends. One end, you're going to put on a spade connector. The other end, you're going to put on a ring terminal. This is going to go to our ground right here. Take a 5/16 socket, self-tapper that comes in the kit, and we'll take our two ground wires and get them mounted to our panel. Now we can reinstall our taillight. Once you plug in, make sure you push the red tabs down. On the back of your diode, you're going to have some sticky tape. We're going to peel off one side. I'm actually going to take it, I'm going to stick it right here. Make sure you're low enough that when you put your light in, the top of your wires aren't going to hit the top of the vehicle there. That'll hold it in place. You're going to get a butt connector in your kit. The brown wire, we tested it, and it's not going to be long enough to get over to our passenger side. So what I did is I used the white wire that I cut off and extended it using that butt connector. Once you put that butt connector on, it's a good idea to tape around that. So how I ran my wires over to my passenger side is a factory wire running right on the back of my rear fascia. You can see the clips that are holding the factory wiring in. I just ran it right through those same clips. I use the same method as I did on the driver's side to get my wires up using my pull wire. Now we'll go up and make our connection with our diode. And then for our passenger side, we're going to do the same thing we did on the driver's side, except our running light signal is only going to have one wire, which this is the white wire that I extended from my brown. And we're only going to have one ground. That's the ground coming off the diode. Once you get that done, go ahead and reinstall your lights. Again, don't forget your red tabs. Zip tie to factory wiring, and we can reinstall the taillight. The back of your 6-volt plug, it's going to have some little screws on it. You can use a Phillips or a flathead. I find that the Phillips tends to strip out the heads. You want to make sure you don't take these all the way out because they are very small. We're just going to work our way around, putting in our wires. Green wire is going to be for a right turn signal. Yellow wire is going to be left brake and turn signal. Brown wire is going to be a running light signal. And white is going to be ground. And again, this is only temporary. I'm going to be taking this back off, but I wanted to put it on to test my wiring. If you're going to be adding a charge line or anything like that, do it now while you have your fascia off. It's going to be easier to run it to the plug. Once you get to the point where you're putting this back on, there's going to be a rubber boot that's going to slide over top of this end here. Slide that rubber boot on once you get your wires on, and you want to fill the inside of that with dielectric grease to help protect those connections because they will corrode. Take some electrical tape, tape around the edge of the boot here, all the way down to where the boot comes over the wires, and then tape off that end. It's going to help seal that. And you're just going to take some self-tappers, and you'll attach it right to those two pins. Now we're going to use an alternate power source to test out our wiring. This is going to simulate being hooked up to your RV. Taillights, left turn, right turn, brake lights. That's going to do it for a look at and installation on Roadmaster's Smart Diode Wiring Kit on your 2015 Jeep Grand Cherokee.